It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
At 11 minutes past 11 on the morning of November the 27th, 1944, the Midlands was shaken by the biggest explosion this country has ever known. 4,000 tons of bombs stored 90 foot underground in the old gypsum mines blew up, blasting an open crater 400 feet deep and a third of a mile long. Many buildings were damaged from miles away. The pub had to be rebuilt, and one farm with all its buildings, wagons, horses, cattle and 6 people completely disappeared. And that is today's story. And we're actually in a place called Hanbury, which is near Fauld, in the Staffordshire countryside, and we are here to see a crater. Now, you don't get to see one of those very often, do you? During the war efforts, a lot of infrastructure, like mines and things like that, were utilised by the government to provide storage for bombs. Now, the best place to store bombs is underground. You've got very little chance of them being destroyed from air raid attacks and things like that. So a lot of these areas had these deep bomb stores all over the country, and this one at Fauld was no exception. It was huge, and this is where the story starts, because these guys who worked down there weren't really that experienced, and in the war effort people had to get who they could get back in them days, and to train people that took a long time. So you invariably had inexperienced people managing these bomb sites, and one morning here some fatal mistake caused a humongous explosion which actually put a huge crater in the ground here at Fauld. And a lot of people don't really even know this is even here or exists, but it sure does, and it's pretty incredible. And we've got the drone here today, so hopefully we should be rewarded with some really good drone footage as well. It just depends how high it is and how big it is, whether we can actually get some good drone footage. So I mean, you could imagine this explosion, what it must have been like. I mean, that would have sent ripples through this countryside. So yeah, we're going in the hunt of it. You can actually see the crater, or the top of the crater, from here, and you can see them by looking across. You can see those trees, they're a bit more sort of younger than the other ones. So you can see that hedge line that runs across the bottom there. So that is pretty much the edge of the crater itself. And there's basically, you've got to walk along these farmers' fields here, but there is a public right of way across them if you did want to come and try and find it. So there's our first sign there, basically: danger, unexploded bombs, strictly no admittance, warning, sudden drop, which is basically so this is still actually owned by the Ministry of Defence, look. So you don't want to be hanging around here, do you, really? But yeah, as we walk around, you got this path that sort of skirts around the outside of the crater. I mean, you could walk around here and probably not even know this crater's there. So we need to really pick a good spot so that we can pop the drone up and give you a better look. I just want to try and give you a closer look at this crater. There's a little hole in the fence there just. Let's have a little look. There you go guys, you can see it there, look. That is one big hole in the ground. Now let's check in with Tom Scott, a military historian. Please subscribe to his channel because he's got some great stuff on there.
This crater was once RAF Fauld, an old mining operation converted to an underground bomb storage depot for the Royal Air Force. Underground storage was meant to be safer. One of the problems with munitions dumps is that the enemy just needs to hit them with one bomb and the whole lot goes up. This site seemed perfect, but there was a problem, because this was built in the 1930s for small bombs, the sort that one person can carry, the sort that you can move on a conveyor belt, the sort that the army can fire from a field gun across the trenches. That's why these old quarries with all their tunnels and caverns were perfect. But then the Second World War moved on and bombing became a job for the Air Force. And the bombs got bigger and bigger and bigger fast. 1/2 a ton, 1 ton, 2 tons. And the war effort needed many, many more bombs than had been predicted. Rapid changes in supply and demand meant that the underground depots were filled far beyond anything like their original capacity. By the end of 1944, the men here at RAF Fauld were storing stacks of high incendiary bombs outside the mine until they could find space inside. There was a war on. They had to make it work. Monday, 27th of November, 1944. The commanding officer was on leave. The officer responsible for the underground stores was also on leave, and it was his deputy's day off too. Everyone who was down in the depot and in charge was inexperienced and massively overworked. According to the official inquiry, someone tried to remove a detonator from a live bomb with a brass chisel, and brass chisels cause sparks. In Morocco, 1,500 miles away, seismographs recorded what felt like a distant earthquake. 100 miles away, people heard a rumble carried on the wind. 4 miles away, a shockwave blasted out windows. And here, a mushroom cloud rose into the sky. 4,000 tons of bombs had gone up in one terrible chain reaction, the largest explosion ever in the British Isles. This crater was once a hill with a farmhouse on top of it. No trace of that farmhouse or the people who lived there was ever found. The bombs that hadn't immediately exploded were thrown into the air and rained down for miles around, along with millions of tons of debris. A nearby dam collapsed, sending floodwaters down into factories and houses in the nearby valley. The exact death toll? It'll never be known. At least 60, perhaps 90. It took months before all the bodies were recovered, and some were never found. And in the Air Force reports, held classified for years and years after the explosion, along with the names of the dead and page after page itemising every bit of the destruction, there is this phrase: columns of black smoke and debris rose in gigantic mushroom form. When you're rushed, when you're inexperienced, anyone can get complacent, anyone can cut corners, anyone can make a mistake, even when you're working with high explosives. Now, slowly, over years, the crater was cleared and reclaimed. Decades later, what remains is an odd scar on the landscape. About half the bomb store actually managed to survive the explosion. And while the bombs were removed, there are still tunnels and storage rooms hidden under the crater. But after careless explorers started damaging the site, all the known entrances were filled in. And given the warnings about unexploded bombs still in the crater, I'm not about to climb this fence and go any further. There is one little interesting note though, right at the end of the story. Through the late 40s and the 1950s, the American military kept asking for records and details of the explosion. How big was it exactly? What was the damage to the nearby land? And was it by earthquake or by blast wave? What happens if you essentially detonate something with the yield of a tactical nuclear bomb underground? Britain never answered, and America went on to make its own mushroom clouds.
So there you go, that is Fauld Crater, and I hope you enjoyed the drone footage there. You have to fly your drone here, you have to unlock the geozone that's here. You have to put your phone number in and all that sort of stuff, so they know who you are, I don't think, well, it's the first time I've done that. Anyway, all's good. All is good. I hope you've enjoyed that look at Fauld. A little bit of a hidden treasure in the middle of the countryside, and I think that is the only crater in the UK. And how many of you guys didn't know about it? Anyway, that's what Monumental's about. See you on the next episode. Thank you for watching, and if you click inside the box, you'll see our exclusive playlist for Monumental 2023. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel and it helps me create more videos like this. Take care, see you again.